And welcome back, everybody. In this week's video, I wanted to build on the content from last week where I was talking about the 5 misconceptions of the symbols within Usui Reiki Ryōhō, and I wanted to dive a little bit further into the conversation of Reiki upgrades. This is going to be a 2-part video because I think there's a lot to explore here, and I want to give a little bit of context first. When I'm talking about upgrades, what I really mean here is any other type of Reiki, quote unquote. Why is it that I continue to say, the only practice to me that is Reiki is Usui Reiki Ryōhō? I say that simply because, and I practice, to be fair, Usui Reiki Ryōhō only because it continues to demand that I let go of all of the idea of practices. It continues to demand that I seek internal stillness. If the practice of Usui Reiki Ryōhō was subtly asking me to, really view Usui Sensei in grandiose terms, or to recognize, that this is the one true path, blah, 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 and everything else is whatever. None of that language is correct. The one true path of the practice of Reiki is in calming down my mind. That's it. That's it. That's always going to be it. That's all there ever will be, because everything is an expression of my mind. So when I'm talking about upgrades and when I'm talking about Reiki, I'm talking about not only the idea of new Reiki systems, I'm talking about all the Reiki practices that are out there, and I'm comparing that to Usui Reiki Ryōhō, which in reality means I'm comparing it to the journey of my own mind. So I want to make that caveat very clear and that distinction very clear before we move into that. And why am I saying that? Because, and like I've said on the channel here before, I don't even know how many types of Reiki there are out there. There's probably 50 to 100 different types. I've seen everything up to like dolphin Reiki, whatever, all these types of things that are just all over the place. And right off the bat, by definition, by fundamental definition, there cannot be multiple new types of Reiki that are being taught, new Reiki, I'll put that in quotes, being taught, if the person that is teaching it didn't believe that it's somehow better or improved or more powerful or whatever. That language is a trap, fully a trap. Because if I believe that, then that means the person that has quote unquote discovered this type of Reiki, I'm going to believe that they have unlocked something in the universe. We can't unlock the energy of the infinite nature of the universe, and more specifically, we can't make that more powerful. We can't upgrade that. We can't channel that to make it somehow new or better or improved. None of those things make any sense, and I want to be very clear on that. I would love in the comments, if anybody has a rebuttal to that, please let me know, and I would have a very open and willing conversation on it, because even what I'm saying here applies to Usui Reiki Ryōhō. I want to be very clear. If such language was being used in Usui Reiki Ryōhō, I wouldn't practice it, because it would just further my own suffering. If Reiki is the energy of all things, and here I'm just meaning it as a word, I'm not even meaning it as a practice. We can call that chi or prana, energy. We can call that the background radiation that we see in space. You can call that the residual energy from the Big Bang, Christ consciousness, Buddha nature, whatever you want to call it, doesn't make any difference. For this video, I'm just saying that as Reiki, meaning the energy of everything we have in the universe. That energy is infinite, and it knows no connection to form, because energy is always changing form. It's always moving from formless to form and vice versa. So we're always in this cycle of movement. If that's the energy of all things, and if it's infinite, then there's no possible way that I can make that better. There's no possible way that I can upgrade that, or that I can download anything that makes that better. There's no way that I can teach Reiki in a way, or my practice, which is of Usui Reiki Ryōhō, in a way that should suggest to my students that by learning this, they will understand something bigger about the universe. They will have a deeper connection to Reiki. I would challenge everybody looking at this video to look at the way Reiki is taught. If you're learning something outside of Usui Reiki Ryōhō, I can almost guarantee you with 100% certainty that the thing you're learning will have this language in it. This symbol is more powerful. After this attunement in this type of Reiki, your chakras will be more open. All of these types of languages are incorrect, and I can almost assure you that they are in all these other lines of quote-unquote Reiki, because they have to be, because they have to try to convince you that what you're learning is better, otherwise you wouldn't learn it. Simplicity is key. Always has been, always will be. Occam's razor, the simplest explanation is probably the correct one. So why are there all these other types of Reiki out there? Why there's all these other lineages? If I craft and create something that I then sell to people to make it sound more powerful, or that, you know, the energy of the universe is moving and shifting, and so we have to upgrade the practice that we all have or whatever, that's an easy thing to market and to sell. And also, that's an easy way for me to look like I'm the guru that figured that out. There is no greater place for you to be than in a still mind. In a still mind, you are Daikomyo, you are recognizing Reiki. So if we have a practice that is formulated in belief and attachment and suffering and hierarchy and comparison and all these types of things, then we are never in a still mind. If we have a practice that asks us and demands us to sit in silence and to be with ourselves, and when attachments come up, we have then tools to try to calm them back down and release them, that means we're moving closer to a still mind. In the space of stillness, we feel the connection to the totality. We feel the infinite nature of Reiki, and we feel it moving through us. This is what was discussed and originally taught by Usui Sensei. This is the core concept of Usui Reiki Ryōhō. It's the understanding that if we find peace in our mind, our body will follow. And if our mind and our body are at peace, then we are simply witnessing the movement of Daikomyo. Now, why was that originally taught by Usui Sensei? What originally happened? Well, of course, I can only speculate because I wasn't there when Usui Sensei was on Mount Kurama and did his 21 days of austerity. But here's what I can speculate from what we know and what's out there. It seems like Usui Sensei was going to try to find the connection to Daikomyo, or to the energy of the universe. So to really, what I mean by that is to face all of the attachments of himself. That's really what I mean. To face them and to overcome them. Why Mount Kurama? Well, you can watch more detailed videos on my channel about this, but Mount Kurama essentially invites us to face those attachments. The entire story and mythology and ethos of the mountain is a journey into yourself, to surrender yourself, to arrive on the other side of yourself. So I think this is what Usui Sensei was doing in brief, to be fair. And the ultimatum was, I will sit until I either connect to Daikomyo or I die. Now, in many ways, these are one and the same. If this thing that I call Bruce dies, well, then what am I? Let's say that I actually die. When I actually die, then I'm Daikomyo. And Daikomyo is not magic, it's not God, it's not any, it's just the energy of the universe. We go back to that energy. So the only barrier between me and the energy of the universe is my attachments to myself. None of this will exist if I'm dead, from my frame of reference. So I have to look at that as the exact same journey. Physical death or believed death are the same thing. And if I believe that I've died, if I surrender the nature of myself, if I am able to move past death, then I touch Daikomyo, I experience Daikomyo. And this is the original teachings, this is the original journey. Usui Sensei was not going on Mount Kurama to discover Reiki. And by Reiki, I mean this practice that I teach and so on. That wasn't his point. His point was to surrender himself and to be laid available for whatever might come from that. That's the point. So you see, if we are on that journey and we're working to release ourselves, and this is where I think all of these like quote-unquote upgrades come from, and at least I hope, because it gives it a little bit more honesty, as we move into the nature of the self, like Usui Sensei did, then we witness the unfolding of our suffering. And as that journey unfolds, as our suffering unfolds, as our traumas are released, they're released with story and with metaphor. So for instance, if I go and I sit, and this happens all the time, and I'm certain that this has happened many times for all of you listening. When we sit, we release, we let go, hopefully, bit by bit, of the things that we're holding on to. And this is when we might see a deity, or we might have a belief, or we might hear a voice, we might see colors, we might see geometric shapes, we might see all these different metaphysical things. Why are we seeing those? Because they are a part of the story that you are letting go of. That's it. So let me give a very basic example of this, a bit of a thought experiment. In Catholicism or in Hinduism, we can use those kind of interchangeably here. There are so many Catholicism saints, and in Hinduism, deities or demigods or gods, okay? So many, so many. In Buddhism as well. Every single one of those we can view as like an aspect of our story. So in Catholicism, for instance, if you want to achieve some sort of outcome, if you are looking at a difficult day, and the example that I usually give in my teachings is if you are a fisherman and you want to ensure a good day, then there's a specific saint that you would pray to guarantee that. Does the saint exist? Are they real? Yeah, maybe the saint really existed. Usui Sensei really existed. There's all these things that they really did exist, but the story is what you're praying to. You're asking that one thing about you to maybe be more courageous. So in the example of fishing, I might be nervous about going out for the day because maybe the weather's a little bit dodgy, or maybe the fishing report's not very good or whatever. If the fishing report's not good, then I'm going to be like, nah, I'm going to shy away from it. I need to pray to that saint, which is really praying for the courage in myself to overcome my own apathy. Maybe the weather looks really bad, so I might need more bravery or stability or confidence to ride through that storm. Again, I'm going to pray into myself to let go of the aspects of me that might cause me to falter or to mess up in the face of this difficulty. This, I think, is really what's happening here, and this happens to everybody. It's not unique, it's not special, it's not magic. Everybody experiences these things. The trap of our journey, and this is the final trap of our journey, is to believe that these things that we experience are somehow magical. To believe that we have connected to a divine archangel or whatever, and now that I'm a divine channel of that, I'm going to give that to somebody else, whatever. Everybody experiences these things. They are simply the mile markers, as you were, the trail markers on your journey towards Onsen Ritsume. And they help us to see that we can actually release the story. We can release the trauma, the pain, the entrapped energy, and it will be released with metaphor in a way that we can not directly know what's happening, because then we would attach. But instead, we can be subtly suggested to what's happening, because that gives us the space to let go. And what do I mean by that? I mean, if I sat down in my nightly practice and I was like, okay, I want to release this X thing, this memory, whatever. That's what I'm focused on. That's what I'm going to release. If I'm sitting in my practice and then it releases, and then I get very clear confirmation of that, like, congratulations, Bruce, you just released that memory. Great. But now the story is so clear that it's easy for me to attach to. Oh, what memory? Oh, yeah, and it's like a balloon that I'm trying to let go of that I actually pull back and reattach, because maybe I revisit it and I can't just let it go. If that same exact healing process takes place via metaphor, which is confusing, which is a distraction, then it allows me the space to let go of it fully. Instead of it saying, congratulations, you let go of that thing that you really were trying to let go of, maybe an archangel appears, maybe a bodhisattva appears, whatever. Maybe a relative that has long since passed away appears and whispers a metaphoric journey to you. That's confusing enough that you can let go of it. It's distracting enough that we don't stay attached. You know, what I think is really beautiful about Usui Sensei and his journey is that he went and he discovered this great Reiki over his head, and this releasing of the self was so strong. And again, many of you have probably felt this. In deep practice, we might feel Kundalini energy movement. We might feel pulsations of energy coming out of the body where we feel it's really heavy. We feel it's really difficult, and it might, there might be consequence. That's why I'm laughing. I know so many times my practices have brought these things up. This is the energy that I need to release. Usui Sensei did that, and according to the story or the myth, when you recognize this great Reiki over his head, the movement of the energy through the body was so strong that he blacked out. Okay? This is a really big experience. He didn't go and start teaching a practice to make you feel daikomyo and black out and have all these grandiose experiences and do all these types of things. No, he started teaching a practice that demanded mental stillness. So anytime that we are hearing a discussion of Reiki, or that we're hearing a discussion of this practice that runs contra to mental stillness, that talks about upgraded, more energy, becoming a bigger conduit of Reiki, being able to heal, being able to scan and sense and do all these distractive things, then we're moving away from the true teaching of Usui Sensei. And indeed, the journey that you are on, which is towards your own liberation and peace and stillness, you're just extending the trail. Start right from the beginning by focusing on stillness. Everything else is a byproduct of that. So if we start there, then your journey starts to get, if we can't say it like this, but hopefully it's encouraging, it'll get shorter. It doesn't get shorter because the journey is your entire life. But if your journey is aiming towards stillness, regardless if you get there or not, if you're aiming towards stillness, then eventually every step that you take becomes more in line with Onsen Ritsume. If you're aiming towards, I just got upgraded because this Reiki teacher downloaded this new thing or whatever, there's all these new symbols because now I'm a grand master and all that, then your journey is actually just getting prolonged, because you're going to have to unwind all of those beliefs and all of that suffering. What is it in you? This might be the question to ask. And I don't mean you, I ask this of myself all the time. What is it in you that needs those beliefs? Attack that thing. What is it in me, for instance? This is the questions that I ask. What is it in me that is still attached? What is it in me that is still suffering? What is it in me that can't let go? What is it in me that finds this practice right now difficult? Okay, I can only say that about myself. So maybe those questions resonate with you. Or, what is it in that teacher that is framing the conversation in attachment? What is it in me that needs that form of attachment? What is it in me that is nervous to let go, to surrender into daikomyo? You're surrendering into the loving embrace of what you already are. That should be the most comforting thing that we could possibly surrender into. However, we have to go through the fire of our own attachments. We have to go through that difficulty. So I get it. That's difficult to do. It's always difficult to do. But if I keep my focus towards stillness and away from all of this language of upgrades and different types of Reiki and so on, then I'm moving towards Onsen Ritsume and more stillness, and practice by practice, your life becomes easier. The other route, practice by practice, your life becomes more attached. So there's two very clear journeys here. And I think that it's really important to witness that and understand that when we hear this type of language. As Reiki continues to get more accepted and more widespread, as it is and as it has been for so long now, 70 plus years or whatever, it's spread all over the planet. This is just creating a bigger potential minefield for people to get attached to their own story and to believe it's special. It's not special. It's not special in the way that what we experience, that's what's not special. What's special is the beauty that we can find and discover in ourselves after we let go of all the spectacle. That's what I'm trying to get at in these videos. So next week we go into part 2. Let me know in the comments below how you found this video, everybody. I hope it helps with your practice. If you're new, if you're a vet in the practice of Usui Reiki Ryōhō, wherever you are in your journey, I hope it helps out so much with your journey in the practice. And thank you for your comments and the support of the channel. As always, be well and in gosho to all.